queer people in tech could change a lot of things. If you don't have these people at the table, no one's thinking about them, and you're not making products for them anymore.
You're listening to the QT podcast, where we explore how queer professionals and entrepreneurs are building a brighter future for queer communities and the tech industry at large. I'm Margi Marchetti. My pronouns are they, them, and welcome to the QT podcast.
Hey, how's it going? My name is Zhané Stimpson. My pronouns are she, they, and I am the Associate of Youth Engagement at Well Simple.
Hi, Zhané.
Hello.
Welcome to the QueerTech podcast.
Woo! Woo!
So, Zhané, you know, the title that we see on your profiles, on your professional profiles, is Youth Engagement Associate. What does that mean?
How can I define this? Youth Engagement Associate, my day-to-day role is a lot of going out and speaking to youth of all ages, especially around financial literacy, because Well Simple is a fintech company. So it's a lot of community building, partnerships, communicating, also social media content. So making content with students when I'm at universities, and also just relating to the kids. I remember one time I went to do a financial literacy workshop and I talked about Pokemon for 95% of it because they all liked Pokemon. I'm like, okay, well, I can use this to relate to you. So yeah, it's a lot of fun and it's very rewarding work.
That is amazing. I love how you find your way to teach to these kids and people. It's great.
Yeah.
But let's take a step back. How did you get into tech?
My entrance into tech has always been through gaming. My first console was a Nintendo 64 that my mom bought for me when I was 4. And from then, I was always the person in my family that wanted the newest gadgets, to see what they were doing in the tech world, to be like, oh, why is this computer better than this one? What are these peripherals? Blah, blah, blah. So yeah, my parents really enabled my love for tech in a personal sense. And then in a professional sense, over the pandemic, I realized what I was studying didn't really align with what I wanted to do long term. And my best friend at the time, they were studying computer engineering at Algonquin College in Ottawa. And I was like, okay, this sounds cool. I like the classes you're taking. And so I started taking the classes, but then realized that school online is not fun. So even though I liked what I was learning, my professor's delivery was really bad because, everyone's transitioning to Zoom and they're all angry. So that was on the back burner as well. So my professional sense went to more non-tech skilled tech roles. So I did more of the soft skills in tech, whereas I don't have the hard skills because I have to wait till I go back in person for school. But it started at Mars Discovery District in Toronto, where I was a youth employment coordinator, where we helped different tech companies hire youth, as well as companies like McDonald's, Home Depot, Starbucks, and really giving them those skills to be confident in their interviews. And then from there, through networking and going to events and hackathons and just immersing myself in the tech world, I started seeing more people who I didn't really think would be in tech. And I'm like, okay, let's connect. Let me learn for you. So mentors, peers, and then I landed my role at Well Simple, where I'm surrounded by techies all the time. So yeah, that's how I got into it. It was like a bell curve all over the place type of deal.
What makes you excited about tech?
Honestly, I would say the child in me likes the colors. I like everything that's new, updated. I like, the flashy lights, but in a different viewpoint. I love how tech can help people. I've always had tech that can support me in different ways. So I've always been an Apple Watch person. I've always had an iPhone to track my steps. I've always used apps that can help me sleep better. So I think the big thing that draws me towards tech is that I love helping people, and I know that through tech, I can still help people.
We also know that you have a passion for tech and you're able to build something. Do you want to tell us more about it?
My passions for tech really, really impacted my finances because I kept buying and building PCs over the course of the pandemic. I was the only friend that didn't have a PC or did PC gaming because I only had consoles. And so I'm like, oh, building a PC shouldn't be too hard. I'm not building the motherboard from scratch and putting in all the pins. So I watched a lot of YouTube tutorials, hours and hours. I seen what were the best things to put in my PC. what worked together, what didn't work together. And then I started building them for fun. I'm like, okay, I can do this. Like I can just use a PC for a couple months, upgrade it, sell it to someone else, make a new one. I helped my friend build their PC. I used to like just make lists of like all the parts that I wanted to put in together into the PC. And I wouldn't even build them. I would just have a list of like, yeah, this motherboard goes with this CPU and this CPU would need this power supply. It was like my kryptonite. I couldn't stay out of Canada computers.
So you mentioned you identify as a gamer. Mm-hmm. How did that develop through the years? You know, you mentioned you had your first console at 4, mm-hmm. and now you stream. So that's like a wonderful journey. Do you want to get through this?
I want to say it's crazy enough. Like video games were one way to express my gender identity when I was a kid, because a lot of the main characters were male. And I'm like, okay, what if I just pretended to be a boy when I play this game? Even if they had options for girls, I remember being like, what if I pretended to be a boy? So there was like video games were a way for me to escape gender conformity that I had to do in the real world, especially as a young person, like having to do what my parents wanted to do. So then just buying games all the time, then online games where I can customize characters, and then like playing with my dad, who's a big gamer as well. It just helped me like stick to the online gaming world. And then COVID boomed that. Like I was playing video games all the time because there's nothing else for me to do. So that's when I started thinking about like streaming and building PCs and like playing multiplayer games. A lot of like queer coded things led me to keep playing games.
How do you think queer representation in games developed through the years?
I can say wholeheartedly that recently there's definitely been better and more representation. Most gay people in games are portrayed as villains. And you can see that like in video games, like, oh, if they're gay, they're usually the villain, or they're the villain's henchman, or they're like a side character that's going to get disposed off in like 3 scenes. But now you have like games where like the leads are queer and it can play into the storyline. Like Valorant is a big game that I play. It's a first person tactical shooting game, and 2 of the characters are in a queer relationship with each other, and they have voice lines in the game that allude to them being in the relationship with each other. So it's like really cute that the creators are like, hey, we understand that our audience is queer based. Here is content for you guys so that you know that we respect you. They also have like pride player cards. So there's like the lesbian, bi, ace, non-binary, and gay men flags that you can put as your player card when you play. And me and my friends all have different ones, and we call ourselves like the Rainbow Squad when we play. And it's so good. It's just so fun.
That's such a great way like to express yourself and to, I would say, explore yourself also growing up through games.
Having the option to like switch genders in the game and then naming your character what you want and customizing them. Like I could like cut my hair without having to cut my hair. And that was like the satisfaction I got.
Hi there, I'm Andy, the COO and co-founder of QueerTech, and my pronouns are he, him. I'm excited to take this opportunity to tell you about QueerTech's digital community. The QueerTech digital community is a safe virtual space for 2S LGBTQ+ people who work with or have an interest in technology. In the digital community, members can connect, share experiences, and learn best practices. The community promotes diversity, equity, and inclusion in the tech industry, empowering members to achieve their goals and drive change. Learn more about our services and events at queertech.org.
Are you out to your family?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I thought I wasn't, and then I realized that I was.
When did you come out?
The first time I came out, I was 15. That one was a little rocky because like my parents had not done the work they needed to do to unlearn some things. And then when I went for university, I got a girlfriend who was like my long-term partner for like 3 years. And over those 3 years, my dad first learned about it early on in the relationship. And he was kind of like, oh, I won't tell anyone if you don't want me to, but was very supportive. And then my mom, she knew because she's like, yeah, you're always hanging out with this one person at family events. I kind of figured out that you two were seeing each other. My little sisters always knew, and they never like questioned me about it. It was more like, yeah, all right, cool. Just tell me something I don't know type of deal. And then like slowly over the course of like the last 2 years, especially, like everyone in my family knows, mainly because like I portray myself as a queer person online. Like I'm not hiding that. So one day I got a call from my aunt like, oh, are you still talking to that one girl? And I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, oh yeah, your girlfriend. I'm like, no, we broke up. I'm dating someone different now. She's like, oh my God, tell me about her. I thought it was so weird because I'm like, I have not said anything to you. So either someone else is telling my business or they're just like, yeah, like we can tell. We don't care.
And you mentioned some unlearning that your parents had to do. Can you tell us more about that?
I remember a lot of like my parents' questioning and concern was around religion. I come from a religious family. A lot of religions, the main point is you cannot judge others. You just need to love others. And once my parents like really got that through, like, oh, I'm not the person in position to judge you or like tell you what to do or prevent you from loving who you want to love. I'm just here to support you, nurture you, and be guidance for you as another individual. My dad was really cute one day. We were driving and he was asking me about pronouns because he's like, yeah, like I get emails from people and, you know, a lot of them have she, her, and he, him. But what about the people who have they, them? How am I supposed to talk to them? Like, what should I address them as? And it was such a cute conversation in the car. And I remember there was a motorcyclist driving in front of us and they had long hair and they swerved. I'm like, oh, what is she doing? And my dad goes, oh, she pauses. They are trying to maneuver around the pothole so they don't like hit it. And I'm like, all right, it's very easy. Like he realized that we were like assuming someone's gender and it instantly switched to they, them, and neutral pronouns. And like I see him doing it every day. He stopped saying, hey guys, at the kitchen table with us. He's like, hey everyone, how's it going? So it's like little things like that. My mom watches more queer shows now. Before they used to like change the channel, but now like they realize like no, like people are queer. They are also going to be in everyday things. They're going to be in my hospitals. They're going to be at my churches. They're going to be in my shows. Like, this is just another person. Like, what they do, it's none of my business.
So you can say that your relationship right now is much better than before?
It is the best. My relationship with my parents is the best it's ever been. I remember holding a lot of resentment for them when they were a little less open and supportive. And I remember being that kid that was like, oh, once I'm 18 and I leave, like I'm never going to talk to them ever again. And so thank goodness that they like came around and did their unpacking and learning. Because yeah, at the end of the day, my dad, he just said, I was raised to be a certain way and it's not fair that I never challenged those things. And I'm now just putting it on you as a kid. So his was like, he doesn't want to be that parent who has never questioned what he was taught or questioned what was told to him.
What about community? What about your queer community? How did you find it?
My queer community has been a roller coaster to find. I live in a very small town in Eastern Ontario. And when I moved here, I was like the only out person at my high school, like fully out, like no closet questions. Like I'm like, hey guys, no, I'm gay. Like it's all right. You can say that. So there was a lot of like eyes on me in a sense, because then I started making like the first gay club at the school. And I remember they said we couldn't say gay on the announcements because I did go to a Catholic school and they're like, yeah, you also don't want like parents complaining and yada, yada, yada. But when I hosted my first club meeting and I seen how many people at the school were actually queer and like thriving and like were allies, like it gave me my first sense of community in person. Then when I moved away to go to university, I went to Brock Pride, which was their university's like pride club. And it was amazing. Like we did like potlucks. We did like gift swaps. We had meetings to talk about really hard discussions. We had meetings to talk about fun discussions. So that was like my isolated experience in university. And now with like online communities and like platforms like TikTok and Twitter and Instagram, like I feel like my queer community's just exploded. Like it's all over the place. Like I know I can go to LA and meet cool queer people there that I know from online. I know I can go to Toronto and hang out at queer events like Strap TO, like Lavender Wild that's going to be happening in June, like the queer wine nights that they have every first Tuesday of the month. So now I'm really immersing myself in the queer community around the GTA, and then hopefully like around North America and around the world whenever I can.
How did you find this community online?
Instagram, TikTok, like the For You page is like tailored towards you. So I started seeing like queer content creators, and I click their page and see like the Canadian flag, and I'm like, okay, you're in Canada, like this is cool, I can follow you. There's Pride TEO does events on the side, like outside of like the June Pride Month, and they would post about these like community groups. It's like, oh, this place is hosting a party on Friday, this place is doing like a knit club, this place is doing a book club. So it's more like seeing the big queer socials and then finding the little accounts on the side. So that's how I found like Strap TO, and that's how I found the place that does Queer White Night and Queer Run Club and Queer Dodgeball and Queer Basketball on Fridays.
How does this sense of community, both online and offline, support you as a person in your growing process and also maybe in the early steps of your career?
I realized very quickly that I didn't know a lot about queer history. Like, I did not know about things that happened before me because, one, I wasn't taught it at school. So one huge thing I got from these communities was education. Education around things like safe sex, education around healthy relationships, education around queer history. So that's like one big thing I've gathered from them and how they've supported my development as a person, because without them and their resources and their like partners and the groups that they're in alignment with, I would not have the community I have nor the knowledge I have today.
Totally. We need to know more about our own history because we come from there, and that's extremely important, I guess, for our future. How do you relate to the younger generations that are coming to the same spaces?
I'm not going to lie. Younger queer people, I love them so much. I can relate to them in the aspect of being queer and being a mentor, but like things that they enjoy, like their like memes and stuff, I will never know because I'm just not in that age bracket. But it's always nice to see like, oh, you're in your puppy love stage, or like, oh, you're in your like androgynous stage, or oh, you're in your stage of like trying to figure out your gender identity. And I've done all of that. So if you need someone to talk to, like I can be that person to guide you. So it's more of a like mentorship role than like a, oh, let's be friends role, because they'll say jokes and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't get it.
This podcast is powered by the Canada Media Fund. As the country's largest funder of screen content, we are proud to support 2S LGBTQ+ creators. Learn more at cmf-fmc.ca.
At RBC, diversity and inclusion is more than a value. It's a strength, an engine for innovation and economic prosperity. As proud sponsors of QueerTech, RBC puts D&I into action every day by developing strong talent and creating an inclusive workplace that brings their purpose of helping their clients thrive and communities prosper to life. Find out more about tech at RBC and their latest roles on their jobs page.
Did you have a sort of mentor figure yourself? What about work? Did you ever had a sort of leader you were looking up to?
Oh, yes. For 2 months, I had an internship at the Canadian LGBT Chamber of Commerce. And my manager, her name was Paige. Absolutely amazing person. She guided me through like my first, like, I like to say big girl role because it was corporate in a sense. Super kind to me, always helped me navigate my task and any problems. Like she also was partnered with another woman. So I was like, oh, you're my first manager that's queer. Like you're the first manager I've ever had where like when I talk openly about my girlfriend, I don't feel like I need to shy away after. So yeah, Paige, big help in my development.
Thank you, Paige.
Even bought me a $50 gift card to get a tattoo after my internship because she knew how much I love tattoos. I love Paige so much.
We all love Paige.
Right?
That is great. And when you talk about the way she supported you, in your first steps, can you go a bit more into that? How were you when you joined, when you started your internship, and how did you grow through those months?
When you apply to a job and you don't think you're going to get it? That was
totally.
Me. I'm like, I'll apply because like it's cool. Like it's all queer and I've never had a job centered around queer people. And then I got the job and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Because it was around youth program development. I had never developed a program before. I was still in like second year university. I'm like, I'm not learning about this in school. So she really gave me the ropes and like, hey, this is how you be organized, time management. Here's how you should write your docs. Here's how you should talk to business partners and email people. So it's very like my first hands-on experience to what I do now. And it was literally like she was guiding me through every single step. She would reflect on my work. She would give me like constructive criticism and not just be like, oh no, this is garbage, like throw this away. So yeah, it really set me up for success because all the roles I've gotten after that were because of the skills I learned at that first job.
Oh, these are the managers we like. These are the supervisors, the leaders that we need.
Yes, the ones that are like, I know you don't have this skill and I'm not going to penalize you because you don't have the skill. I'm going to teach you how to like strengthen it.
Yeah. The ones that want to see you thrive.
Exactly.
You mentioned that she was gay, she was with a woman, and that was a great representation for you.
Yes.
Were you always out at work?
Yes. Because it was like one of the only places I felt comfortable doing it because I wasn't out at home. My first job was McDonald's and I was very much out at the McDonald's. Like everyone knew because I was out at school and I was like working with my classmates. But a lot of the places I work at are very intentional. Like I like to do background checks to make sure, hey, are you inclusive? Are you supporting anti-LGBT things or are you pro? And like you do your like one Pride Month tweet and for some people that's the bare minimum. So I like to do research on the places that I'm applying to because if you don't have the diversity or the action plans like behind what you're posting, I don't think I want to work there.
Yeah, I mean, doing background checks is something that comes up like, time and time again. It's we do background checks for everything. I mean, I don't know about you, but if I go on holiday in another country, I do check the state of queer and gay rights in that country just to be sure. Can I hold the hand of my partner? Can we kiss? What's gonna happen? My gender identity, and so on.
I had to do that when I went to Jamaica because I'm Jamaican. I know how Jamaicans are, but I'm like, what's the tourist Jamaica like? Because it's very different, and it was fine. It was good.
What would you suggest to someone that is not out at work to understand if it's a safe space for them to come out?
Ooh, to understand it's a safe space, my like number one requirement for most places is pronouns. At Well Simple, the one thing that caught my eye immediately, because my friend worked there before I worked there, was that in their meetings, everyone says their names and pronouns right away. Like no one talks without doing that. And I'm like, okay, all right. They don't do this at my job. Well, not Well Simple, I work there now, but like before I was like, they don't do this at my job. So I think pronouns is like bare minimum. Them being open to people, being allies and having the pronouns in their names or following the pronouns that people set. And for being out at work, it boils down to a comfortability thing. It's kind of like how you can't force people to come out to their families because you don't know their situation. If you know that your boss is shitty and you don't want to come out to them, yeah, that's your decision. Like, I'm not going to be like, hey, why didn't you tell so-and-so that your partner is actually, queer? But if you're looking to come out, I'd say start with one person. If that's like your work bestie and you know that you can trust them, I'd start with your work bestie. And then slowly but surely, like it will leak out because like you guys will be talking and you won't misgender your partner or like they'll stand up for you. I'd always get one ally that's in your corner. And if you don't have that ally, I would reevaluate the space that you're in. Because if there's no allies, it's probably not a safe space for you.
And what are the green flags that you see now? Well Simple.
ERGs. So if you're in like the interview process as well, I would ask your company about employee resource groups because Well Simple has a Black at Well Simple employee resource group, a woman at Well Simple, the Rainbow, which is for the queer people at Well Simple, Muslims of Well Simple. They're basically groups dedicated to everyone that works there. So all the diversity and to highlight them. And they're sponsored. So like they get money to do activities as a group. So like the Rainbow ERG, one thing that they're known for is the Halloween party that they throw every year. And like it's super insane and everyone comes dressed up. But yeah, that is a huge green flag because when I joined, it's not like, oh yeah, we have these groups. It was a part of my onboarding process to learn about these groups and why we have them and how we support them. So then like my second day, I joined like 5 and I'm like, And now I'm like, oh, this is so cool. This little group is so cool. That's a huge green flag. And if your company is going to pay you for your time. So as someone who's a part of the Black and Will Simple ERG, we had people volunteer to be panelists to discuss like Blackness and its resilience. And when I did that, they gave me a gift card for Black owned businesses so I can buy myself something for support, like for being on the panel. And I'm like, I have never once been rewarded from work to do something for a work event, especially centered around my identity. So like, if they're compensating you for your time and your knowledge, that's another huge green flag.
When we started talking, we talked about how tech allows you to express yourself in a sort of like stable way. This is what tech is for a lot of queer people. How could we lower the barriers to enter to tech?
We were just talking about compensation. I think getting rid of a lot of fees associated with like programs and camps and workshops so that people who might not have the funds to spare can go in and learn about these things, because there are a lot of really smart and talented people out there, and their only barrier is the fact there is a huge price tag on tech and learning about things in the tech industry. Like, yeah, we have YouTube University, which is fun and cool, and we love YouTube, but like some people might not have access to a computer all the time. They might not have access to stable internet to be doing that. So I think once we eliminate like price tags, that will have more people come out. So when we do workshops and we do them for free, or we like bring laptops for people to practice and use on, or we use resources like the public library, which has tons of computers and tons of resources. And we do events there so that people, have a space to come and practice.
Access to tech is access to the possibility of learning in order to be able to access tech. I think it's also important for queer people, and also especially for allies. How do you think they can create a workplace culture that empowers queer people and that makes them feel welcome in terms of really culture and how someone would feel on the workplace? Yeah,
so for workplaces and allies, it's stopping homophobia in its tracks. Any type of bigotry, like, don't let it slide. Like, have a 100% zero tolerance policy and then follow through with that all the time. Because if you let one joke slide and that queer person hears it, it's not one joke to them. It's going to be like a cycle. They're just going to keep hearing that. They're not going to feel wanted. They're not going to feel welcomed. And then they're eventually going to leave. And for the companies, you don't want people to leave because then you lose money and then you have to hire someone new. And you guys don't like that process. So let's do a whole zero tolerance on bigotry deal so that you can retain the queer talent that you have and make the spaces safe for them.
What I tend to tell people is when a queer person is at work and they feel, not only accepted but really valued for who they are, they're also gonna be like happier and more productive and more creative. And this is what we want at work. Do you have an experience where you saw the difference between a workplace that was maybe of course accepting you but not really valuing you for the human and the queer person that you are, versus a situation in which a fully inclusive environment made you feel empowered as a person and as a professional?
Yeah, I can speak to this. So my last job, we have like benefits, right? Which is sick. When I started getting benefits, I'm like, this is so cool. But a lot of the benefits that companies give out are very hetero focused. But being at Well Simple was the first time that I could like put a partner on my benefits and not have it be like, have to be my husband. It could be like just my girlfriend at the time, which I thought was amazing. And it made me happy because now the resources that I'm getting for my health, I can extend to my partner and not feel scared to be like, actually, my spouse is a girl. Can I still get this? So that's one way that I've seen like my happiness thrive, is like being able to put the ones I care about authentically on my benefits package. But work-wise, I don't have a huge negative experience. I just remember like when I was in high school working at McDonald's that like my managers would be super weird about me being queer in like the fetishy kind of way, and would ask me like really inappropriate questions for someone who was like under 18 at the time to be asked for someone who's like 26 plus. But now like when I talk about my relationship, it's in the same romantic aspect as a hetero relationship. So like I don't have people being like, oh, so like who wears the pants in the relationship, or like, oh, who's the breadwinner, like it's very like, oh, you and your partner went out for a picnic, that's so cute, like very nice mundane things that, you know, street people get all the time. And I no longer have to worry about people being like, oh, so like when you're in bed, who does what, like who's the top and the bottom. Yeah, oh my god, McDonald's was horrible for that. My manager's, oh my god, I was like, please don't ask me that.
So you are an amazing person, a content creator, super creative. I would say from, you know, how I perceive you, very ambitious.
I try.
Yeah. What are your aspirations about a change that you want to see happening in the tech industry when it comes to queer representation and queer inclusion?
Ooh, I think just having more queer people at the table, it applies the same way for like diversity, where if you don't have these people at the table, no one's thinking about them and you're not making products for them anymore. I would love to see how tech can help with things like gender affirming care, because like I feel like it's there, like it's right at the tip of the iceberg, but we don't have enough people who care about it to want to do it. Like I want to know how we can make it safer for people to get hormone treatment. When I think about tech and queer people, I think about safety, I think about innovation, I think about health. The same way that sometimes trans men don't like going to the doctor because they're going to get misgendered or mistreated. I want to know how we can prevent that using tech. I want to get like behind the scenes, and I want us to make things like, how can I make sure that my Apple Watch is not going to, you know, misgender me when I go to the doctor? And like, how can I make sure that my health tech or like my medical tech is displaying the way that I need it, so that it says that, you know, I'm male or that I'm a man, and then my doctor sees that and doesn't think something different. I don't know. I think that queer people in tech could change a lot of things for the better. Cars. Sorry, I said about it. Cars. When I learned that the safety features in cars are all centered around like cis men, I'm like, okay, well, I drive my car every day. If I get into an accident, I'm more likely to get injured because I was not thought of when we were designing this. So it's things like that. Like, how do we design things to include trans people, non-binary people, cis people, people that are non-gender conforming? Like, how do we get this to encompass everyone and their needs? Because if I crash and I die because you guys said, oh, well, you needed to be 6'2", blah, blah, I'm going to be so mad, and I'm going to haunt the company owner.
Oh, totally. I love this. When you talk about, you know, how do we design our safety features? How do we design healthcare? This is something I'm personally experiencing at the moment. Every time I go to the doctor, I see, you know, my legal name, which is not the name that I use socially. And every time I'm like, this is so painful. And my GP managed to change it, like in the platform, so she only sees Margi, and she put my pronouns and so on. But if I have to go to any other doctor for, you know, any other reasons, they don't do that. So like they just see it as it is, and it's like so painful and having to explain, and not everybody, you know, is aware. So I think using tech to make sure that all these things can be connected and we can finally just feel free to live and, you know, not be stressed every time we have to literally go to the doctor or to any other, you know, kind of institutional service would be great. Amazing.
Right? Another example is the airports, like the scanners that they use. Oh my, I keep seeing horror stories on Twitter. I need them to redo the whole thing, the whole scanner. Okay? And if you get queer people building these, then they're going to be more inclusive. Then we're not going to have issues of harassment because it's going to detect something that's not supposed to be detecting, you know? So yeah, TSA scanners, get queer people to rewire that right now. I need the software engines to fix it up.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, it really comes to having queer people and queer representation in different level of the industry, so that we can make sure that every step of the way we are there, we can give you feedback. Is this okay for us? Yes or no? Because we've been literally forgotten for years. So thank you very much for these insights. I think they're very, very valuable, and I really hope that people listening will appreciate as much as I am appreciating right now. I have a last big question for you. Yeah. It's been a climax here. Is there any kind of high-level dream you want to achieve in tech or not?
I want to create like an all-female identifying like gaming company. That's like a big dream that me and my best friend had when we first started studying engineering. I think that'd be super cool to do, and then we can branch out and do things like we can do medical tech, we can do fintech. Well, simple, don't worry, I'm not gonna come for you guys, but like it'd be so cool to do like make our own version of Apple Watches that's like super inclusive and backed up by female identifying people of all strands. And then in a non-tech sense, just to be good representation. Like I find that when I was younger, I didn't know spaces were available to me. So instead of me just being like, oh, people can come find me, I want to go out and find people and be like, hey, these spaces are available to you. So like my youngest cousin, she is all over the place. She loves drumming. She loves dancing. She loves computers. She loves games. And I just want to be the person that fosters all of her ideas and makes her think that she can thrive in anything that she does. And doing that through her, I want her to do that for other people, and doing that through other people, I just want it to expand through everyone so that they don't feel like, oh, text for boys or, oh, text for cis straight people. Like I'll never fit in. So yeah, I think just spreading some positivity around the world and helping people realize that their dreams are attainable.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing this. It was great talking to you. It was like, fresh air, and you're really, really so inspiring. So thank you very much for everything.
Thank you for having me.
It was a pleasure.
Of course.
Hi cuties, I'm Naufel, the CEO and co-founder of QueerTech, and my pronouns are he, him. QueerTech is a nonprofit organization dedicated to promoting workforce and economic development across Canada by fostering entrepreneurship and providing opportunities for the 2S LGBTQ+ community to access professional development, networking, and mentorship in the tech industry. Our primary goal is to increase access to these opportunities and support the growth and advancement of queer professionals, entrepreneurs, and innovators in order to build a strong and more diverse workforce that is better equipped to meet the needs of the innovation economy. By promoting diversity and inclusion, we believe we can help businesses access a broader range of talent and perspective, and we can drive innovation, creativity, and growth. Become a QT today at queertech.org.